Welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about the difference between a habit and an addiction and how to know which bucket your drinking is in. So hopefully you've checked out my podcast called Sober Powered, which is available on Apple or Spotify, where I explain how alcohol affects the brain. And in my YouTube videos, I give you high-level summaries of what's going on. So I'll recommend some episodes to check out at the end of this video. So let's get to it. So let's start with a habit. So in a habit, it starts with a cue. So the cue could be you get up in the morning, or you're driving to go to work and you're cued, you get in the car and you know it's time to get a Starbucks. So that's the cue. The cue leads you to get an action, which is grabbing the Starbucks. So, driving, Starbucks, and then after that, you get a reward, which would be the coffee. It tastes amazing, it makes you feel happy, it's great. Now, when you have a bad habit, so this would be a good habit, a bad habit you have the same cycle. You have a cue, you have an action, and then maybe mixed with the reward or instead of the reward, you start to have some consequences. And it's these consequences that make us change the bad habit. So this is the key with a bad habit, is the consequences. So like maybe your bad habit is you eat ice cream every single night. And if you're sober and you're doing that, by the way, check out episode 41 of my podcast. That's all about sugar. But maybe you're eating ice cream every single night and you're getting that reward. It's fun, it's delicious. And then eventually you start putting on weight and feeling bad about yourself. Those are the consequences. Other consequences could be you bite your nails all the time. And, it's an automatic kind of stress reliever. But then you look at your hands and you're like, ew. Those are the consequences. This is what makes us question the habit. And then eventually, that questioning and the consequences being repetitive make us break the habit. And that's it. If you are a nail biter and you stop biting your nails, yeah, maybe you have to resist it a little bit because it's so automatic and you do it without thinking. But once you break the habit, you're not going to fantasize about biting your nails. You're not going to question whether it's been long enough and you can start biting your nails again. You're just not going to do it. The difference now with an addiction is you have the same thing. You have a cue, you have an action. So the cue is it's after work. The action, you have a drink. Now, you have the reward. You check out for an hour. Boring TV becomes fun. You forget about your problems. But what comes after this is the key here. Shame. You might have regret. You might have big consequences. But then it's this part that cues you again. The difference between a habit and an addiction is Habits are sensitive to consequences. Addiction is not. So you may have the same consequences over and over and over repetitively. Like you get drunk, you wake up at 3 a.m. with extreme anxiety, and you hate your guts so much, you hate yourself. Or you go to work hungover and you do a bad job, or you let your family down again. You fall. You text people, you take selfies, you post on Facebook, you do a bunch of embarrassing things. You wake up and you're like, why do I keep doing this? And it's all of that combined that then cues you again. And then you do the addiction again to escape all of those feelings. And because we don't develop coping skills. So I have a lot of episodes that I can recommend for you on this topic. And I'll link those all in the video description. But what I want you to understand from this video is that a bad habit is sensitive to consequences. Once you start to see consequences of your bad habit, you work to breaking it. With an addiction, we're not sensitive to consequences. We excuse them. We justify them. We blame ourselves. Like I had a lot of anxiety at 3 a.m. from my drinking. I had a lot of really bad depression and self-hatred. I thought that was all me. I thought that the alcohol was my little break from myself and all my problems. I didn't understand the problems were from the alcohol. When we start to have consequences with an addiction, we go harder. We go even harder and we justify it. And we try to say everybody's doing it or we can't imagine life without it. And then we stay stuck. And the reason that I'm making this episode is not to just tell you the difference between the two, but to help you understand that by calling your drinking a bad habit, you're minimizing it. And that's preventing you from taking it seriously. I thought for years, oh, my drinking is just a bad habit. I just have to break the habit and then I'll be fine. That was minimizing it and keeping me searching for moderation and being able to control my drinking one day. Now that I call my drinking an addiction, it's a really serious word. I take it seriously. I'm not minimizing what's going on anymore, and I'm being honest with myself. So if you're a gray area drinker and you're stuck saying it's a bad habit, you don't have to take on alcoholic or addict or a word that makes you feel uncomfortable. But what I do want you to understand is this point. If you're seeing consequences and it's not letting you change your behavior, it's not a bad habit anymore, it's a problem. And when it's a problem, we have to take it seriously. So I have a bunch of episodes that I can recommend for you on this topic. I'll put them in green because this is kind of a mess. So I'll put them right here. So I want to recommend that you listen to episode 180. That's all about why our drinking gets worse over time and not better. After that, you should listen to 181. Why we keep expecting it to be different and then it never is. 191. How going back and forth makes your cravings even stronger. And the last one that I'll recommend, I have tons of episodes on this topic, but I don't want to overload you. If you've never listened to my podcast, it's pretty technical. I want you to check out 203. And then if you want, maybe 99. 203 is all about why you still want alcohol even when you hate it. And 99 is about why we can never drink again. So my podcast is really technical, like I said. I have a biochemistry background. I'm over 4 years sober at the time of this video. And in each episode, it's only 15 minutes. I explain the latest research on addiction, and I teach you why we can't drink alcohol and other people can. And I teach you skills on how to get free and stay free. So if you're interested, the link and all of these episodes are referenced in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed my picture. Remember, this is the key. Addiction is not sensitive to consequences. That's why we need a big rock bottom sometimes to shock us out of denial. So I'll reference all this in the show notes for you. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate if you could give it a like and leave a comment. Let me know what you want me to talk about next.